All right, what's up, guys? Good afternoon here on the East Coast. Welcome to this edition of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. I'm your host, Brandon Troy. And today, as you saw from the promo post, hopefully, I have a special guest on. So let me introduce them now. Give me one moment. I have
Hello.
Justin Timpane. What's going on, man?
Good to see you, Brandon. It's great to be in the presence of the great Brandon Troy again.
Stop it, stop it. But yes, again, for today's show, we have writer director Jen Timpane of the film Cancellation. Justin, I had a chance to see it, enjoyed it. So can you talk a bit about commencing this project?
Sure. Well, Cancellation is the plot synopsis is basically five characters in a typical 90s sitcom, friend style sitcom, come to the realization that they are in fact fictional characters in that sitcom and that the sitcom is ending. And if the sitcom's ending, then they of course would cease to exist. So how can they possibly stop that from happening? So there's a little bit of I don't know if you were a kid when if you ever read the book The Monster at the End of This Book by Grover. Um, uh,
Yes.
so it's sort of that they keep turning the pages, trying as hard as they can not to get to the end of the story, and the story keeps happening anyway. It keeps thwarting them at every turn, so that by the end, it's basically them fighting, for all intents and purposes, a god who is trying to destroy them, um, and ultimately how they deal with that and whether or not they are successful at that is the story. And it sounds very heady and complex. It's really more of a it's that plus like the play Noise is Off, because it's there's absolutely it's a theater farce at the same time that it's this very heady existential drama at the same time. So it's I don't want people go, oh, this sounds like homework. It sounds whoa. It's really it's funny. It's got twists and turns at every like no scene ends without bursting into a total like gut punch to the next scene. Um, so I it sort of came out of the idea of how could so in my other life, right, most of the people you talk to who are from the DC area unfortunately have to divide their lives into both the creative and and the life that lets them live with a roof over their house. um and so part of my life is I deal with very sick people, and I often find these people at the end of their lives, who when I was very new at doing my job, I would find people who were like, well, I'm not going to do chemo anymore. I'm not just not going to do it anymore. I'm giving up. And I'd be like, what? Are you crazy? Why would you do that? Fight. We got to fight. And as I've been doing it longer, I now understand absolutely both choices. The choice to fight to get every day you can, or the choice to make the life you have left as rich and meaningful as possible. It's it's do I fight, or do I go visit the Grand Canyon because I never have? Um, and that is ultimately the conversation that the last third of the film is about. Is do you spend all your time fighting for the chance you might survive, or do you spend your time getting the most out of the time that you have? Because ultimately, it's always a losing fight. You're never going to win that fight. There is no win. Yeah, everyone dies. So that is sort of the conversation that came to the end. I want to find a way that sort of discuss that without being boring or preachy and there's a little bit of preachiness in the film. I'll admit there are a few monologues in the film, but it's I just want a fun way to discuss difficult topics. And it sort of grew out of that. And then I was like, why not make it a Christmas movie? Because it is very much a Christmas movie among all the other things that it is. And that was sort of the inception of the film. Brandon, my friend, um, I am seeing your lovely face. I'm not hearing your lovely voice at
I
all.
was gonna say, I will. It's funny that you bring up the where the inspirations came from, because I see a lot of Friends DNA in that film. in terms of the makeup of the ensemble and some of the tropes that you have with each of those characters and who they are, what who they represent. Additionally, it's funny that you bring up Noises Off. Back in undergrad years ago, did Noises Off, so I'm very familiar with Noises Off, there's definitely that element. So with a type of film that you have here that deals with a look behind the curtain, so to speak, and having the satirical world or the world, the false world, so to speak, versus reality. Can you speak to casting a film? Because it's going to be in casting a film, you have to find unique actors that can pull that dichotomy off.
Absolutely. So that the in terms of developing the characters, there's an amazing horror movie called Cabin in the Woods, um,
Yes.
that I think everybody should watch. And Cabin in the Woods explores very much the idea of the party of five characters, which is, as defined in the film, it's the whore, the brain, the virgin, the athlete, and the fool. Those are the five. Now,
Yeah.
I hate the fact the word horror is in there. That's a very difficult word, and I don't like that word at all. But it is the, let's say, the worldly woman. So I wanted to have the worldly woman, the innocent woman, the foolish man, the foolish man, the intelligent man, and then the athlete. So that it's definitely those five characters. Um, so when we came around to casting it, I needed someone who could, we follow, as most of these stories do, we follow the what would in the party of five be the virgin, the innocent character, and we follow her as she comes to kind of a Luke Skywalker-ish realization about what the world is, and it made sense to invert a couple of the characters, and that was the most fun thing to do, was to take the fool from the show and make him the wise man in real life. So the funny friend, played by Marcus Ellison, is the fool on Suburbia, or fake sitcom, but he ends up being the intelligent one, the wise man, who is essentially her Obi-Wan Kenobi. Who he has all the knowledge, all the information, he leads her through, because we assume, at some point came to the realization, probably 2 or 3 weeks past, um, of what was going on. So I wanted to make sure that I could find those two actors above all, Lauren Melly and Marcus Ellison, that would have chemistry, that was semi-romantic, but was also teacher student, and ultimately who could, especially for Marcus, could embody both the fool and also the Obi-Wan, and could switch like this. So the very first scene where you see him switch, he's like, ha 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 ha, big funny stuff. Switch on a dime. Do you think you're real? And there's this gravity is not even the word. There's this graveness to him that he could immediately bring, on a dime, in the same scene without a camera cut. Um, and then with Lauren, I needed to find someone who just conveyed a bright-eyed innocence to the world, but then she also needs to be able to play the end of the film, where she is weighted down so much by the world around her. And so they were the two hardest characters to find. The thing about Marcus in particular, Lauren embodied exactly what I had in mind from moment one, and that is both a compliment to her and a compliment to all the other actors that auditioned, because we did pretty wide auditions. We did a wide one in DC at the National Conservatory. We booked enough time for like 2 hours. We stayed for like 3.5. Um, and we called people back 100. We had like 100 people there. We also did it up in Maryland at the Maryland Ensemble Theater in Frederick, both of whom were very, very kind to give us their space. And we had so many people come out. And it's a huge compliment to how many great actors came out who would have given amazing performances. But then we had these people who just came in. Marcus was hard to place because we're like, oh, you could be this guy. You could be this guy. Marcus would have fit. in all three roles, but he was so perfect for this, and it was almost heartbreaking to go, okay, well, then who are going to be the other roles? And then in steps Elliot Kashner into who I'd worked with before. He was Frankenstein in Ninjas versus Monsters, um, and he steps into the role of Benny, being sort of very likable in suburbia, but also an overbearing bad boyfriend. And then turning into not your stereotypical guy. So he sort of grabbed that immediately. And then Joe Mays came in as Claude, and it helps that he looks like Joey from from he looks like Matt LeBlanc, but also he's a remarkably smart, educated actor. He knows what he's doing, but he's able to, for all intents and purposes, play Ted from Bill and Ted, just like to a T. Um, and also can with this dumb look on his face spout words of wisdom, and you go, oh, there's something to, so that. And then the great thing is we got Carolyn in to do Maggie, um, who needs to be a likable bitch, um, uh, and needs to be. She is based very much on. There's a girl I worked with, a woman now, but she was very young when I started working with her, who would come into work and she would just tell these stories like they were nothing. She was like, "Oh, I got a new boyfriend. Oh, tell me about your boyfriend. Well, he's nice. He does this. He's into S&M, and he has a painting room downstairs. We went out to Italian food." And she would be like, "What? What are you saying? Hey, oh, you're late for work. Oh yeah, I had some car problems. I was driving into work, and there was a lot of traffic. Then I got run off the road by an 18-wheeler. My car is stuck there. I realized I was late, and so I flagged down a cab and left my car there. Came to work. So yeah, I was like 15 minutes late. And there was no like,
Deadpan.
she might as well have been saying I went to the store. And I was like, that became very much what Maggie became about. Was Maggie had no idea that she was saying sometimes very offensive and sometimes just like crazy things like, well, give him a kidney, which this woman did to a person that she worked with, needed a kidney, so she just decided to give him one of hers. That's a real story. It's just like, and we're like, you're a real hero. Well, that's amazing you did that. And she's like, it is. I was just like, okay, I guess I'll do it. It was so there was, and it's not false modesty. She was just like, no, okay, whatever. And so that went into the DNA of Maggie. And when Carolyn came in, I was blown away. And I, of course, saw that she had the same name as Elliot. And I was wondering, was she a sister or are they related? I've worked with both Sam and Allie Lukowski here in this area who are related to one another. They're cousins, and they're both incredible actors. I was like, oh, maybe we got cousins again. Turns out they're married. So I want to be really clear that before we knew that they were married, like they had those roles. And then I was like, oh, you guys are married. Well, you can carpool then. And the funny thing is that they were both so busy doing other things because they both like Elliot helps to run a theater and Carolyn's constantly doing things all around. They never carpooled. They always showed up separately because they were always coming from another gig. So the hardest part was that we turned down so many incredible people. I never know whether to say this sentence. I could have cast the movie with 5 other amazing people I saw. It would not be as good a movie because I found the perfect people for my movie, but it would have been good. They would have gotten there were amazing actors who came through, and so yeah, that was sort of the whole casting process.
Awesome. And also, just to jump a step further, congratulations, I suppose, is in order because you understand that you have a sales agent for this film. So can you talk a bit about that process and what maybe it's too early, but perhaps there's already updates or news on that end of what's been done.
Well, I've been waiting for this interview to announce that that was the case. I've hinted at it, intimated, but I haven't gone. We're so happy to, Wonderful Entertainment is a sales agent out in LA who deals with small films and sells them directly to digital and sometimes theatrical, but usually digital in the United States and worldwide. So he has relationships with distributors all over the world. Um, and so yeah, he is. everything I've read about this guy's name's Phil Gorn. He was recommended by a distribution company who ended up passing on the film, who really liked the film and was interested in trying to see if there was a way we could make it work. And unfortunately, we couldn't. But they were very, very kind to say, but we would love to recommend this other guy. This dude is a like when you play tag and you need to tag base, he's base for independent filmmakers. He came out right away and said, "Okay, saw your film. I don't want to give you pie in the sky recommendations. I don't want to tell you it's going to make $1 million. This is what I think it will do. Here's your over under. Here's the least I think it'll do. Here's the most I think it'll do." Um, and my job is to not only just like help films get distributed, but also sleep at night. So I'm not gonna. He starts straight out and goes, so I'm not gonna lie to you about what it's gonna do. Everything's up front. The deal was great. I can't do the specifics of the deal, but the deal was very fair. And I've gone through this process a few times now, and it is the shortest contract of all of them. It's just very it's if I were a first time filmmaker, this guy would be I would never know how hard it could actually be. Because this guy's been so easy, which is not to disparage the people worked with before. They've been great, but just very complicated. And he has made it simple and user friendly, and has been, and also will just like randomly email me at like 2 in the morning and go, "Hey, I know your taste. I think you'd like this movie." And so it's a real joy. You don't find that. That's really rare. That's a real, a lot of people can seem very schmoozy. Hey man, no, I know this film's going to do really great. We're going to do that. And then, they either fair to deliver or you realize they were just schmoozing you. That wasn't this guy at all. There was an air of being genuine that I really appreciated about him. So yeah, we're super excited about that. We have been lucky enough to get some festival notices, including we were best feature in one. We were silver medal audience favorite at Columbia and got best actress for Lauren. We got best editing. We've got all so it was through that the first distributor found us and then recommended us to him, and then the festival notices. If you're an indie filmmaker and you're not making a horror movie, um, uh, this is really that's your way in. If you don't have a star or something, you need to have some third party say that your film's any good. And we were lucky. I mean, this is dare I say it, this is a good movie. I like this movie a lot. I'm proud of this, which is not to say my other ones weren't, but they were more just sort of popcorn entertainment. There's I don't think anyone's going to go ninjas versus vampires. That's Oscar bait. No, it's just meant to be dumb fun. But this one I'm super proud of as it's a film. It's the first film I've made, because it's designed to hit you in the head and the heart, and not just sort of the let's have fun of it all. So that's I don't know that's sort of it's the first time I've really had success on the festival circuit, so I'm excited for it.
Awesome, awesome. And to speak further on that, as you said, this is not your first time around the block, so to speak, in the industry, and di- going through that process of working with the sales agent. Would you say in the other times that overall, because you've come teased it a bit now, that you prefer that process, or for someone who is another indie filmmaker out there who's potentially watching this show, and they're considering that process? Oh, I'm going to get a sales agent, or I'm going to go directly to the distributor. Would you encourage them to have that additional party of having a sales agent to before getting to a distributor, possibly? Or because I know things are a little different these days with streaming and a lot of the different mediums out there. So sometimes you'll see filmmakers that'll skip certain steps to get their film out there, and sometimes you don't. So
That's a really great question, and that is foremost on kind of everybody's mind right now is what is the what's the secret sauce. I think there are two things to look at. One, distributing a film is a lot like making dinner with whatever you have in the pantry. So the answer, what is the path? Well, what am I going to make for dinner depends on what I have. So there is no direct path. I know that sounds like a BS answer, because like it would be nice to say yes, sales agent is always good, or the fact is that if I have spaghetti and sauce in the pantry, I'm making spaghetti, and if I've got stuff to make chili in the pantry and some meat, I'll make some chili. But I like it's in this case for us for this film, it made the most sense. We had we had direct contact with two different distributors, and distributors finding the right distributors is as grueling or difficult a process as finding a sales agent. And there are you'll get your if you want your film distributed, you can get it distributed. You will find a distributor. If you can make a film on your iPhone today, don't edit it, don't put any music to it. It stars you. You have no script, and you're talking about rutabagas, and a distributor will tell you, "I'll make you $1 million. All I need is for you to cover my expenses." You'll find him. He's out there. You'll be able to say you've a distributed film. Um, what they'll do is they'll do the same thing that you can do, and they will put it out. They will take all your money, and sometimes they'll just run away with your money. And you'll never get paid. It's really interesting. I don't know. I know you're a Kevin Smith fan, but you heard the reason that Randall Jeff Anderson wouldn't come back for Clerks 3 for so long is because despite the fact that Clerks 2 was made for $3 million and made like $20 million theatrical and then made another $20 million on VOD, he has been told that he has not been paid because they said it didn't make money. And so that's I mean that's Miramax, so but that's like the legit industry. So underneath that is a shadow industry that can be really bad. And I don't want to say we've had a very bad experience with the distributor, and then we've had a distributor who we had a good experience, but they did take a lot of the money, and that's just part of the deal. Um, so you can look at other situations like a local filmmaker named Kevin Kangas put out a movie called Garden of Eden on Amazon Prime when you could first start doing that, and the dude was getting millions of minutes streamed and was making a ton of money. I was doing really well. I don't know Kevin personally. We've met and we know who the other one is, but I'm familiar with the story of this film. And then Amazon did a purge which included Trekoff. That movie ended up part of the purge. It wasn't there anymore, and even Ninjas versus Monsters didn't survive the purge either. Where they just took like half of the independent films and they got rid of them. They didn't tell you why, and they said you can never resubmit them. And that's like half of the ones that are out there, and it was just some algorithm. It wasn't a human being. An algorithm made the decision for you. And so I haven't heard of that happening a second time, but that did happen. And so what does that do? That means that Trekoff and Ninjas versus Monsters, even if I had a distributor, I can't ever put them on Amazon again. But because I went through Amazon's direct service, I never signed a deal with Amazon, then that's the case. Had I used a distributor for these things, very likely those movies would still be on there, but the distributors would take them. So you know what I mean? There's a lot of things to keep in mind. In this case, the most important thing for me is that I have no idea how to sell to Singapore. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know what their streaming situation is. This guy's an expert in that. This guy, he goes, "Hey, here's a few $100s we just sold to this little country," and I was like, "Well, that's fine. You probably made money. They probably made money, but I never would have seen a cent of that. That country was completely closed. So if I can make a little, and those people can see a little of that, they can now see the movie, and that was not available before. And that's really all I want. You don't make a movie like this to go make a ton of money. I just want people to see it. Um, you could just put it on YouTube. I don't know why YouTube or Vimeo seems less real, um, which it's plenty of very talented filmmakers have put amazing stuff on YouTube and Vimeo, and yet it always feels a little like your mom put your picture up on the fridge. It feels somehow less legit. But I've seen films way better than my films that were self put on there, so it has nothing to do with the quality of the films. So the real answer is to have a good idea of what you have, um, and what you want to achieve. I paid everyone up front, so the only person who makes the money on this movie is me. And I don't care that much about I don't feel the responsibility I had, let's say for Ninjas versus Monsters, or where people were going to get paid based on what the movie made. So I felt more of a responsibility to push and try and go for pie in the sky, and that didn't go how I wanted. Um, uh, I just want people to see this one so I can take further risks. If it doesn't work out, then I can always just put it up and see what happens. But I like, having a guide, having my own Richie, having my own Obi-Wan Kenobi to lead me through the bar at the bar at on Tatooine. Yeah, that I want that guy to lead me through, because there are guys in there who have the death sentence on 12 systems.
Absolutely, man. So I'm going to go on a quick tangent, but it is related to what happens in the film or what's commented on the film.
Sure.
There is an idea or a concept that is brought up during the film known as jumping the shark. So I would love to know, out of that idea of jumping the shark, because in thinking about that concept, some IPs came to mind, whether it's TV or film. What is your recent property, whether it's TV or film, that has jumped the shark and is still ongoing right now?
Oh, you see, okay, so that's the thing, still ongoing. The good news is that if you mess up too badly, you're done. Like, for instance, if it were still going, I would say the one that made me the angriest of any film ever was Die Hard 5, where
Okay.
I dug the first three, and even the fourth one had its charms, and then Die Hard 5 is just so bad, that if they made a sixth one, I could then say Die Hard 5 was the one that jumped the shark. And
Okay.
it's the angriest I've ever been watching a movie, was watching Die Hard 5. Or Mortal Kombat Annihilation, also terrible.
Ooh. Ooh.
I walked out. I walked out of that one. I walked out of that one and walked into Anastasia, which was playing because I loved the first one, and the second one is just so terrible.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat holds a special place in my heart. It's like what you have on like VH1, where it's
the first one. Yeah, the first one's
yeah,
fun. The
it
second
is.
one is remarkably bad. What's still around that has jumped the shark? The popular thing to say is Star Wars, of course. The popular thing, it's not what I think, but everyone seems to think Disney killed it. And I go, well, first of all, watch the last season of Clone Wars, watch The Mandalorian, watch the last season of Rebels, and watch Rogue One, and tell me that Disney killed Star Wars. Because that's some of the best Star Wars. Like, if you think that before Disney took over, there were 12 hours of Star Wars that were of varying quality, and since Disney took over, minus the first 5 seasons of Clone Wars, but you know what I mean. And since Disney took over, you got Rogue One and the last season of Clone Wars, and you got the last season of Rebels, which was also incredible, and The Mandalorian. So yeah, you can be mad at the new trilogy and think that Solo was maybe not as good as it could be. I will say that my feeling towards Star Wars right now is that there is a sense that perhaps they have that the introduction of JJ's trilogy was a moment of jumping the shark. One could say that Luke drinking the green milk on The Last Jedi was that. I think that was the jumping the shark moment for that. That's a great. So the last Star Wars trilogy, Luke drinking the green milk, where he like milks the thing and then drinks green milk, and he's like slobby all over here. He's like, that's so good. I was like, oh. And like from that moment forward, Star Wars was not quite as good as it had been up to that moment. And so you could say the trilogy jumped the shark at that. Westworld jumped the shark at season 2.
Okay.
And followed the thing. Westworld had season 1 was the quest of the character to become powerful. And then the character achieves their quest at the end of season 1. And then they are powerful in season 2, and the show's just uninteresting. Because what made it interesting was following this character's quest to achieve power. And so Westworld is still going, and I won't watch it anymore. Things can jump the shark and unjump the shark. So, for instance, Arrow jumped the shark. And then Arrow got really good again for the last couple seasons until what Arrow did on Crisis, which was stupid. You could say that the entire Arrowverse jumped the shark, except Legends of Tomorrow continues to be just the most fun show on television. I have so many opinions. Boy, you can keep asking.
Well, no, I was going to say the franchise that I enjoy a lot, and just to think of how far it has come from its first installment, is the Fast and Furious franchise.
Okay.
Because it was just a basic, a race film. Yep. Very much along the lines of a
gone into
Point Break,
something. Yeah,
very much along the lines of Point Break, and now it's become basically a heist franchise.
yeah.
And
And a
like,
spy
who
franchise.
would it? Hmm?
And a spy franchise. They saved the
That
world
too.
from a terrorist franchise.
Where a lot of these characters, where you're considering the first installment, you're like, wow, now they're like legit spies and like mercenaries now. I did not see that in their skill set from the first film, but I still love that franchise. So
Well, and
uh
that so you could have said, so I have not seen the last four because my wife wants to see them, and which is a shame, right? Because evidently it gets really good at four. Like the fourth is the best one. Name me a series where the fourth is the best one. I'm about to do that. And then everything I've heard is that it just gets better and better, and they just they're pumping out really quality 2 hours every 2 or 3 years.
but they are basically superheroes at this point. I will warn you. They're basically superheroes at this point.
So they jumped the shark around two because two's not very good. Three was disliked at the time, and
I
then
like three.
people have come back around to three.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a similar franchise that I'm a big fan of that follows the same path, which is Mission Impossible. The first one is one thing. It's a relatively quiet, thoughtful spy film. Second one, it's ridiculous and terrible because it's so ridiculous. It gets back on the third one, but it's not awesome. It's just pretty good. And then the last three, I will say that the last one, Mission Impossible 6 of all things, is one of the top 10 action movies I've ever seen. Fallout is I've never seen that before. That blew me away. So a similar, I mean, Bond did that all the time, right? Bond goes until Bond jumps the shark, and then Bond reboots. They'll go until people are like, "This is bad." We go, "Okay, we're done. Die another day." Ha ha. No, let's get serious again. It's always, it gets silly, gets sillier, and it goes Moonraker, and then they go, "No, just kidding. Here's, we have Timothy Dalton." Oh, what, you didn't like Timothy Dalton? Boom. Oh, now we got Goldeneye. Goldeneye's awesome. They go, "Okay, little worse, little worse, little worse," and they go, "Let's make Casino Royale with the director of Goldeneye. Let's just get him back to reboot Bond again." Which it's, so I think that Bond knows how to jump the shark and then start back over really well. So I think, yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I think back to things that jumped the shark. A lot of things have had such longevity now because everything's been around for 30 years. Like when I was growing up, like it was like, this has been around for 5 years. That's amazing. But you go Star Trek jumped the shark. Like Voyager wasn't very good, and Enterprise was bland. It was just this. It was the equivalent of past the date, wheat toast. Like it wasn't terrible. It didn't make you throw up, but you're just like, I guess this is food. And yet now, I mean, now it's thriving. Now it's doing, like, I don't know if you saw Picard, but Picard is it's just, you don't even have to be a fan. It's just stellar television, and Discovery as well. So you can jump the shark and come back now, which is weird. So maybe that's a sequel, Cancellation 2.
So, with that being said, Justin, can you tell folks out there what's up next now? You're still in the midst right now with Cancellation, obviously. However, if for those of you, unless everyone out there has been living under a rock, we are in an interesting environment right now. So that has a unique perspective and effect on the industry right now. So and how it's being executed.
Like I don't know. It's weird. I'm doing all the same stuff. So, I mean, but of course, I was always sequestering in my house and wearing masks when I went outside. Yeah, I think what's next. Well, first of all, I will announce it here. A brand new, exclusive to you. I'm announcing my brand new movie, The Distanced, which is a story of it's a sci-fi story where some being, maybe it's the government, maybe it's scientists, maybe it's an alien, maybe it's God, has taken two characters, supposedly the whole world, and isolated them in a quantum bubble inside their house when they can't leave. And two of these characters find each other through video chats and fall in love, and also realize the gravity of their situation. And it was filmed all over, like what we're doing right now. And it's it's 35 minutes long. I finished it last night. And we'll be submitting to festivals probably by the end of the week. So that is what's next for me and for Endlight. For Cancellation, it's still festival circuit. We still have 20 festivals pending. Our batting average, which is pretty good, is like 1 for 4. So for every one that we've gone in for, or every 4 gone in for, one has accepted us. For every one that we've gotten into, half of them have been a win, which is pretty good. That's not bad for festival submissions. So we've got that, and then we have a 60-day turnaround time to get all our deliverables to the sales agent, which means I think that's what he thinks the turnaround time is going to be for it being available. To our backers, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, they will be receiving their copies of it. Um, because it was, couldn't, I failed to bring up our amazing Kickstarter backers, who like made this possible. I need to make sure I don't fail to bring up our producers, who all wear more multiple hats. And I know there's 6 of us. I have to make sure I count it off and don't forget anyone, because it's me, my wife Kelly, Daniel
Yep.
Ross. We have Rob Hagens, and Antonia Arcella. We've got Zach Miles. We got Mona Khan. We got Daniel Mascarello. All of them on, and did, like, the movie is a very pretty movie, and that's not because I'm very good with the camera. That's all Anthony and Mona. The Rob helped me very much with the story, and also did camera work. Mascot built a whole bunch of stuff. We got Zach on sound, Kelly doing business, Ross sort of behind us with publicity. Like it's like this was such a team effort. Um, Even more so than the Ninjas movies, which had more crew but was very much the Justin show. This was very much a everyone come, maybe because it was just a cast and crew of like 12. Everyone could come together, meet up, see what everybody wants to do, and then create, as a team. So I'm failing if I didn't bring them up. And they all have huge things coming up too. But for the film right now, it's festivals, and then hopefully distribution, and then keep an eye out for the distanced. What's up for you, man? How are you? No one asks you how you doing. I would ask you that in an interview. You just go, "Hey, stop talking to me. I'm an interviewer. I have a show. How are you doing?" No, what's up with you?
Same old, man. I am always moving and shaking. I'm just kidding. But no, it's been a wow. This is weird. First person has asked me, so you are the first. There you go. But no, it's been interesting because with the landscape that we're in right now, I've been fascinated to see how mundane things that we take for granted with the industry and all the facets of it have been affected, and how in some cases it's going on.
Brandon, we lost your mic again, my friend.
Say new creative ways are now being brought up, now that you have challenges with social distancing now, and it's going to be interesting too to see going forward once we get to a state of normalcy if any of these procedures or protocols are still going to be kept
Well, yeah,
going forward.
the
So
17-day window now between Sony and AMC that happened yesterday is crazy.
yes.
That's crazy stuff. I'm really curious as to see what that does to the theatrical distribution window, and what that like if that's gonna have to mean that only the big movies ever get distributed in theaters now. Because,
And then if it's a continuing ongoing trend, what it will look like
yeah,
for other companies as well if they're going to hop on board and do a similar thing based on what they're seeing as a trend. So it'll be fascinating.
I've been fascinated to watch. I keep up on your show and stuff because I've so many friends who passed by. I saw you interview Jay Saunders the other day with Ithaca, which I'm here to promote my film. Ithaca's amazing.
Check it out.
Yeah, I gotta give him props. He's been working on it for years, and I saw the first cut of it like 2 years ago, and I was immediately jealous and upset, where I was just like, damn it, this is really good. It's just like it looks so pretty. It's such a well shot film. Um, and so I'm excited about the other filmmakers here, as well. I've been, there have been a few filmmakers, people that I've known in other contexts that I'll see and I always get angry when their films are good. Or I'm like, or like I remember the first time I saw uh what was it? Eric Meyer's film. Uh Oh my God.
Butterfly Kisses.
Thank you, Butterfly Kisses. I got to see a really early cut of it.
Shout out to Eric.
And I walked out and I shook his hand, and there was a Q&A. It was me and Ed Sanchez and Corey, and we were all sitting around and giving notes, and I had specific things I thought, and I was talking, because I made ninjas, blah, 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 blah. And then I went home and I was so upset. I was like, it's really good. It's like really, it's just so startlingly good. And I came home and I was literally down for like 2 days. My wife was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, because like when it comes to low budget stuff, Ninjas versus Monsters is one of the biggest, coolest looking things that had come out of here in a really long time. And I was so proud of it. And I would see other things that got noticed, and I was like, it's good too. It's on the level. And then I saw Butterfly Kisses and I was like, crap. I was like, it's really good. We have a comment here.
Yes, very funny, Dan.
Ross, I don't know who this guy is. He's been stalking me ever since the Don Dohler days of Crawler. We did a movie once that's coming out evidently this year sometime, back in 2003.
All right, Donald, wink, 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 wink.
They're gonna do it. Robert's gonna get this thing out, I know. But this guy Daniel's been following me around since then. He's come to my house. This guy showed up when my firstborn was born. He showed up in the hospital room, and he brought Chipotle, so that's okay. No, Daniel Ross, of course, is my hetero life mate, best friend, and producing partner through everything from the very first Ninjas all the way through The Distance, where he also features as an actor and is maybe the voice of Donald Duck. So yeah, that's hi Daniel. I know you're watching, jerk. But yeah, I've been also excited to see you, man. Your show's been around. Now you're the institution now. Congratulations. Been around a while now, sir. But it's amazing to see you go from a relatively small local show to you're doing a Spartacus guide. I've seen you with some real legit.
Oh yeah, very,
yeah. It's like legit stuff in the last couple of years. Just watching you and your show grow has been, I like when local boy does good. It's it's good to it's amazing to see that, and I think it's important for people to notice, here in this area, there is an avenue for people like you, for people like me. There is an avenue to if this is what you want to do, you can do it. And when people say no, tell them politely to leave the room and move on, because you're killing it. You are killing it, man.
I try sometimes. But we'll cut it off there. Justin, thank you so much for coming on Movers and Shakers Unlimited. Again, can you tell folks where they can find you before I let you go?
Sure. Cancellation is at Cancellation Movie on Facebook. That's where we're going to do most of our pickups there. Of course, didn't even talk about the podcast. If you've enjoyed listening to me gab, you can listen to me gab along with either Alexia Poe for the Trek Off podcast, or Arthur Rowan to listen to the Totally Super podcast, where we talk about superhero movies. Ninjas versus Zombies and Vampires are on Amazon. Monsters is available Vudu with ads. Trek Off is not currently available, but you can listen to our show. Cancellation is going to be coming out in the fall. The Distance is about to hit festival circuits. I think that's all. At Ninja Director on Twitter, although I'm much more responsive. You can just friend me on Facebook, and I'm fairly responsive. So get in touch, man. I love hearing from people.
All right, cool beans. There you guys have it. Again, Brandon Choi, host and co-creator of Movies and Shakers Unlimited. You can find us on Facebook, which you're watching now. But you can also find us on Instagram, Mover Shakers Unlimited, on Twitter at Move and Shake UNLTD. You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Choi ENT, and of course Instagram at Brandon Choi _ENT. So with that being said, thanks so much for watching. Be safe out there. See you soon. Bye.